night, when the other engines are tucked away in their sheds, you can still hear the faraway call of an engine's whistle and the clickety-clack of train wheels turning. This is the sound of the post train. One train is pulled by Thomas and the other by Percy, as the loads are too heavy for one engine to do the work alone. The post is loaded into trucks at both the harbours, and the engines pull their trains through the silent stations, delivering their precious loads. On a clear night, a big shiny moon brightens their journey, but often Thomas and Percy can't even see the stars. But whatever the weather, lamps along the track always light their way. One night, Percy was waiting at the junction. The main line train was late. At last, Henry arrived. Sorry, he puffed. The mail boat from the mainland was delayed. Come on, Percy, said his driver. Let's make up for lost time. Percy puffed along as quickly as he could, but the sun was already rising as he finished his work. Never mind, poor Percy. It's nice to be up and about when it's the start of a new day and there's no one else around. Percy was not alone. Bother, said Percy. It's that dizzy thing, Harold. Good morning, whirred Harold. I always said railways were out of date, but you're so slow with the post, you should give everyone their stamps back. Post haste. Percy was too tired to explain. Great, he muttered. Good morning, Percy, called Duck. You're up early. No, you're wrong, sighed Percy. I'm back, tired and late. He rolled into the shed and fell asleep almost before his buffers touched the bar. His driver decided to set off early that evening. Thomas was waiting at the station. Thank goodness I've a chance to speak to you. Driver said that the person in charge of the post has complained to the Fat Controller about the delay last night. But that wasn't my fault, replied Percy. I know, said Thomas, and so does the Fat Controller, but this post person wouldn't listen. Tonight, we'll just have to be quicker than ever before. The engines were just leaving the station when they heard a familiar buzzing. I say, you two, there's news flying about. Where? Puffed Percy. All over the place. They're going to scrap the post train and use me instead. Wheels work wonders, you know, always. Rubbish, puffed Thomas. That night, everything ran like clockwork. Thomas and Percy steamed through the stations, making good time everywhere they went. At a station, Thomas noticed a man looking cold and worried. He had missed his train home. We can give you a ride, said Thomas's driver, but it would be rather uncomfortable. Thank you, said the man. Anything's better than sitting here. The next afternoon, Percy passed the airfield and saw Harold. Hello, Lazy Wings. Are you too tired to fly today? The wind's too strong. I've been grounded, grumbled Harold. You need rails, laughed Percy. They work wonders, you know. Always. That night, the Fat Controller showed the two engines a letter. It was from the man who had missed his train. He thinks you are both splendid, said the Fat Controller, and everyone says that the post train is the pride of the line. One winter's night, when the cold wind blew, the engines found it hard to sleep. What we need, suggested Toby, is to listen to a story. A mysterious story, said Percy. But, added Duck, it must have a happy ending. Driver told me a story, said Thomas. So everyone listened. Once upon a time, began Thomas, there were three little engines who lived in their own little shed on their names were Duke, Stuart, and Falcon. Duke was the oldest and named after his race, the Duke of Soho. He was proud of this and loved to keep the little engines in order. Whenever they did anything that Duke thought wrong, he would say that would never suit his grace. Other engines came and went, but Duke outlasted them all. Stuart and Falcon used to call him Grandpa. They were fond of him, but they got very tired of hearing all about his grace. Sometimes they would tease him and chant, "Engines come, engines go, Grandpuff goes on forever." "You impertinent scallybags," Duke would say. "Whatever are you engines coming to?" "Never mind, Grandpuff, we're only young ones." "Well, you'd better mind, unless you want to end up like Smudger." "Ooh, Grandpuff, whatever happened?" Smudger, said Duke, was a show-off. He rode roughly and often came off the rails. I warned him to be careful, but he took no notice. "Listen, Dookie, who worries about a few spills?" "We do here," I said, but Smudger just laughed. Until one day, manager said he was going to make him useful at last. Smudger stopped laughing then. "Why? What did he do?" "He turned him into a generator. He's still there behind our shed. He'll never move again." After that, Stuart and Falcon became really useful engines. And all three were happy together for many years. Well, take Stuart and Falcon. No one wanted Duke. They thought him too old. "Cheer up, Grandpuff," called Stuart. "We'll find you a nice railway, and then you can come and keep us in order." They tried to be brave and cheerful, but no one really thought their dreams would come true. Duke's driver and fireman oiled and greased him one last time. They sheeted him snugly and said goodbye. They had to go away and find work. Duke was alone. "Oh well," he sighed, "I'll go to sleep. It'll help pass the time." Winter torrents washed soils from the hills. Trees and bushes grew all around. You wouldn't have known a shed was there, let alone a little engine asleep inside. "That's not a happy ending," exclaimed Percy. "Ah," murmured Thomas sleepily. "There will be, but that'll have to wait until next time." It was a moonlit night and Henry was working with Edward. The big green engine was taking a goods train to the station by the lake. "Whenever that owl hoots, a mist rolls in," murmured Edward. "There's a legend that when the mist's about, there's a ghost about too. Take care on the old line, Henry." "Stupid bird," said Henry. "Owls, mists, ghosts. Edward's going soft in the boiler. There's no mist." But Henry was wrong. "What's that?" cried Henry. "It's an amber lamp," murmured his driver. "That means proceed with caution." "Who's there?" No one replied. Henry crept slowly forward. He stopped by a tree. It had a sign nailed to it, "Beware of the viaduct." The driver was surprised. "No one warned us about that before, and look, the signal's red and the gates are closed. And there's a fogman's coat, but where's its owner?" Then they saw a light move within the station building. "Ghosts!" exclaimed Henry. "Edward was right." "Something very strange is happening," said his driver. "I think it's best we go back." "So do I," agreed Henry. By morning, the mist had cleared. A workman was talking about the unsafe viaduct. "Lucky you didn't cross it last night." "Yes, but we don't know who warned us," replied Henry's driver. Later that day, he spoke to Henry. "The viaduct has been repaired. We can take our train back along the old line tonight." Henry didn't really want to. But when nightfall came, he was sizzling nicely. Suddenly, an owl hooted, and then Gordon thundered by. "Oh, look! Henry's spooked," said a truck, and the others giggled in their silly way. "Be quiet," snapped Henry. "I'm not scared." And it was. A little later, the fog came down. As they approached the same area, they saw the amber light again. "Here we go," said Henry's driver. Then, unbeknown to Henry, the gates mysteriously closed by themselves, and the signal went red. The trucks had seen all, and they were spooked too. "Faster, faster! There's a ghost about!" "Stop! Stop!" yelled Henry. A mysterious figure watched Henry go by. Ahead was a landslide blocking the line. Henry braked hard, but the trucks hit some of the rubble and plunged into the ravine. Just then, Henry's driver saw a strange sight coming towards him. "What's that?" he said. The fireman laughed. "That's our ghost. It's old Bailey, the fogman." Old Bailey was very cross. "I tried to warn you about that viaduct. Why didn't you pay attention?" "We're sorry we ignored your warnings," replied the driver. "Is there anything we can do to thank you?" "I'd like to operate that whole station again, if you let me. I promise I won't spend any." And in a little while, old Bailey's wish was granted. "You and your station will be really useful," said the fat controller. "Let's share a hearty thank you to the friendliest, ghost on the island." Everyone cheered, especially Henry, who was the happiest of all. Duck, the Great Western engine, worked hard in the yard at the big station. Sometimes he pulled coaches. Sometimes he pushed trucks, but whatever the work, Duck got the job done without fuss. One day, Duck was resting in the shed when the fat controller arrived. "Your work in the yard has been good. Would you like to have a branch line for your own?" "Oh, yes, please, sir," replied Duck. So Duck took charge of his new branch line. The responsibility delighted him. The line runs along the coast by sandy beaches till it meets a port where big ships come in. Duck enjoyed exploring every curve and corner of the line. Sea breezes swirled his smoke high into the air, and his green paint glistened in the sunlight. "This is just like being on holiday," he puffed. "Well, you know what they say," laughed his driver. "A change is as good as a rest." Soon Duck was busier than ever. The fat controller was building a new station at the port, and Duck pushed the trucks wherever they were needed. Bertie looked after Duck's passengers, and the other engines helped too, but the work took a long time. Noise and dust filled the air. "Don't worry," whistled Toby. "The station's nearly finished." "And on time too," said Duck, thankfully. Duck felt his responsibility deeply and talked endlessly about it. "You don't understand, Donald, how much the Fat Controller relies on me." "Oh, aye," muttered Donald sleepily. "I'm Great Western, and I quack, quack, quack." "What?" "Yeah, quack, quack you go. Sounds like you're an egg lay. Now wheesh and let an engine sleep." "Quack yourself," said Duck indignantly. Later, he spoke to his driver. "Donald says I quack as if I'd laid an egg." "Quack, do you?" pondered his fireman. He whispered something to Duck and his driver. They were going to play a joke on Donald and pay him back for teasing Duck. The engines were busy for the rest of the day and nothing more was said. Not even a quack. But when at last Donald was asleep, Duck's driver and fireman popped something into his water tank. Next morning, when Donald stopped for water, he found that he had an unexpected passenger aboard. A small white duckling popped out of his water tank. "Nay, do who's behind this?" laughed Donald. The duckling was tame. She shared the fireman's sandwiches and rolled in the tender. The other engines enjoyed teasing Donald about her. Presently, she grew tired of travelling and hopped off at a station, and there she stayed. That night, Donald's driver and fireman got busy, and in the morning, when Duck's crew arrived, they laughed and laughed. "Look, Duck! Look what's under your bunker! It's a nest box with an egg in it!" Donald opened a sleepy eye. "Will, Will, Will! You must have laid it in the night, Duck, all unbeknownst." Then Duck laughed too. "You win, Donald. It'd take a clever engine to get the better of you." There's a pond near the duckling station. Here she swims and welcomes the trains as they pass by. The station master calls her Dilly. To everyone else, she is always Donald's duck. It was a beautiful moonlit night on the island of Sodor. The day's work was done and all the engines puffed safely home. "Thomas," whispered Percy, "will you tell us the end of the story?" "You mean the one about Juke, the lost engine?" "Exactly," said Henry. "But," added James, "please remind us of the story so far." So Thomas began, and here was the rest of the story he told. Juke was old and lived with two young engines called Stuart and Falcon. They teased Juke and called him Grandpa, but they were happy together. Then their line was closed down and the young engines went away. Duke was left alone in the shed. He went to sleep, and everything around him changed. But Duke was never forgotten. Years went by, until one day not long ago, visitors came to see the Fat Controller. "We want to find Duke," they said, "and make him happy again. Maps lay everywhere. If we follow the old line shown here on the map," they said, "we'll travel north of the village and then into the mountains. And look, there's a sign for the old station. If Duke's anywhere, he's there." Everyone set off to the mountains far away. The days went by and the search grew hard, but the rescuers wouldn't give up. hills and struggled over ditches. At last, their search ended. Quite by accident. We found him! We found our sleeping beauty. Excuse me, inquired Jim. Are you a vandal? Driver told me vandals break and smash things. Bless you. No, laughed the rescuers. We've dropped in because we couldn't find your door. Falcon and Stuart will be pleased to see you. So they did remember Silent Duke Happily. Then they all set off to Duke's new home. We're glad you've come back. We can keep you in order now. Keep me in order. Be off with you. Impudent scallywags, murmured Duke. But his old eyes twinkled, and for the first time in years he smiled as he dozed in the sun. And that, said Thomas, is the whole story. Did you like it? Yes, indeed, agreed the engines, especially the happy ending. And soon they were all asleep. Stepney, the Bluebell engine, works closely with his friend Rusty. One day, the Fat Controller came to see him. Rusty tells me you're in need of change, so I want you to help Toby and Mavis in the quarry. Oh, thank you, sir, said Stepney. Shall I be away long? Just today, replied the Fat Controller. But please be careful, it's easy to get lost up there, so be back before dark. We will, said the driver. Stepney soon arrived at the quarry. We're glad you're here to help us, said Toby. Are those my trucks? Asked Stepney eagerly. Only some of them. There's masses more in the sidings, replied Mavis. The more the merrier, whistled Stepney. Stepney was really enjoying himself. The dustier he became, the harder he worked. Mavis and Toby were impressed. The quarry foreman spoke to his driver. We have a night special to take to the building site of the new branch line. Do you want to pull the train? Yes, please, said the driver. He should have asked the Fat Controller first. Night came. Be careful, Stepney, advised Toby. I will, and thank you for a lovely day. I do hope I can come back again. The line can be spooky, said Mavis. Thank you for the warning. And with that, Stepney puffed away into the night. Stepney arrived on time and made the delivery of rock and stones for the workmen. Then he set off for home. That's when the trouble began. The fog came down. Mavis was right. Suddenly everything does look spooky. There's a signal box. And the signal light is green. Someone must have been expecting us. But they hadn't. The points had been set in the wrong direction, but Stepney didn't realize this. Home, here we come, he thought. Then they approached an unknown area. The driver made a decision. It's best if we rest here until the fog clears. What are those strange sounds, wondered Stepney. Then the fog slowly lifted. Oh no, wailed Stepney. We're in the scrapyards. His driver and fireman went for help. Stepney was all alone, but not for long. Two diesels approached. off for scrapping, shouted Stepney. The grabber wasn't listening. But just as it was about to grab hold of him, it stopped. There stood the Fat Controller. It's a good thing I've chosen to visit this yard tonight, saving you from scrapping it to be a habit, Stepney. Please stop it. Yes, sir, but I have learned something. What's that? There's no place like home. And that's exactly where you're going now. Bluebells forever, sighed Stepney. Thomas and Percy are good friends, but sometimes Percy teases Thomas about being frightened, and he doesn't like that at all. One evening he was dozing happily in the shed, but Percy wanted to talk. Wake up, Thomas. Are you dreaming about the time you thought I was a ghost? Certainly not. Anyway, I was only pretending to be scared. I knew it was you, really. Percy went on teasing him. I hope the guard leaves the light on for you tonight. Why? Asked Thomas. I quite like the dark. Oh, really? Exclaimed Percy. I am surprised. I'd always thought you were afraid of the dark. I wonder why. Thomas decided to say nothing and went to sleep instead. Next day, the Fat Controller arrived. I would like you to go to the harbour tonight to collect something rather unusual. What sort of something? Wait and see. Percy was moving trucks into a siding. Henry arrived with his goods train. The signalman switched the points and Percy waited on the siding until Henry had steamed by. Then there was trouble. The points are jammed, called the signalman. I can't switch them back. The workmen will mend them in the morning. It's too late now. Said Percy's driver. I'm sorry, Percy, but you will have to stay here for the night. Where are you going? Asked Percy. Home for tea, replied the fireman. Percy was speechless. He watched as the other engines went home to the shed. Night time came, and Percy began to feel very lonely. Oh dear, he murmured, it's very dark. Oh, what's that? It was only an owl, but Percy didn't realise this. I wish Thomas was here too, he sighed. Thomas was waiting for his mysterious load at the harbour. Suddenly, there it was. Cinders and ashes, cried Thomas. It's a dragon. Don't worry, laughed his driver. This dragon is made of paper. It's for the carnival tomorrow. Workmen lifted the dragon onto Thomas's low loader and put lights all around it for protection. Then Thomas set off into the misty night. Percy was asleep in his sidings and had no idea that Thomas was approaching him. Next morning, the points were mended and Percy puffed back to the junction. Gordon was just about to leave with the express. You'll never guess what I saw last night. Gordon was in no mood for puzzles. I'm a busy engine. I don't have time for your games. I've seen a huge dragon. It was covered in lights. Gordon snorted. You've been in the sun too long. Your dome has cracked. When the other engines heard the news, they laughed too. Look out, Percy, chuckled James, or the dragon may gobble you up. No one believes me, puffed Percy. Maybe I did imagine the dragon after all. But Percy soon found out that he hadn't. Help! Save me! cried Percy. It's all right, whistled Thomas. And he explained about the carnival. By the way, how was your night out? Percy decided to tell Thomas the truth. Well, Percy, said Thomas, maybe we do get scared sometimes, but if we're not afraid to tell each other, then that means we're quite brave too. In springtime, Rusty loves to visit a faraway place. It's filled with bluebells. The air smells sweet and Rusty thinks there is no better place to be. One day, Thomas was passing by, just as Rusty was having a drink. Beep, beep, good morning, whistled Thomas. Your driver looks a little worried. I wonder why. I don't know, said Rusty, but I soon will. Excuse me, said Rusty, but is something wrong? Yes, indeed, replied the driver. They need another engine to help run this special line. A bluebell engine, laughed Rusty. Maybe I can find one. Later, Rusty saw Thomas and Percy. Rusty had an idea. Can you help me find another engine? Where you found Oliver? You mean on the other railway? Yes, I'm looking for a bluebell engine, said Rusty, and explained everything. I'd like to help, but these days it's only diesels that go there. Then Rusty decided, so that's where I go. Take care, Rusty told the driver all about the plan. And that night, he came back to the shed. The manager says he'll make a home for a bluebell engine if you find one. Right, said Rusty. We'll find one tomorrow. It took them all of the next day to travel to the other railway. Darkness fell, and the cold wind blew. Oh, what's that? Murmured Rusty. But it was only the sounds of the lonely scrapyard. Diesels, silent and still, lined up on guard. Who are you? Rusty plucked up courage. I'm a shed and sidings inspection diesel. Have you any engines in the shed? No. Rusty ready to get them. What about the sidings? We have one. Rusty got braver still. Then I'll just go and inspect. A small engine with a tall funnel stood sad and alone in the shadowy siding. His driver was huddled in the cab, keeping him company. Excuse me, said Rusty. Do you like bluebells? The engine looked startled. Yes. Bluebells are beautiful. And you'll soon learn to see lots of them because I'm getting you out of here. Everyone worked fast. It was difficult to set the fire, but soon it was glowing hot and Stepney had a good head of steam. Rusty's engineer agreed to be Stepney's fire. So off they set, past the bleak and brooding line of diesels. Where is he going? They hissed. Just down the line, replied Rusty. And they shuffled quickly away. We've done it! We're over the border and back on our own railway. Mission accomplished. When Rusty and the engine arrived in the valley, a big welcome awaited them. We shall mend you and give you a new coat of paint, said the manager. His driver was delighted. You lucky old engine. You've been saved by the Bluebell Railway. And my friend Rusty. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Rusty. Now the little engine is as happy as he can be and helps all the passengers who visit at Bluebell time. His name is Stepney. Everyone calls him a Bluebell engine. One morning, the Fat Controller and his grandchildren came to see Toby. Come on, Toby, we're all going to Seaside. We will ride in Henrietta. Yes, sir, said Toby happily. They came to a small seaside station.
Soon, the children were playing in the sand, building a splendid castle. The Fat Controller inspected it.
My word, that's a very fine castle. Have you seen a real one like it?
Yes, replied the children. It's here on the island. And they showed him a map. Pondered the Fat Controller. They met Toby at the harbour.
Come on, we're going exploring. It will be a great adventure.
Soon they were in the wildest part of the island. They stopped by a lonely signal box. Where might you be going then? Asked the signalman.
We're trying to find an old castle,
replied the Fat Controller. I know the place, sir, said the signalman. There's a small junction not too far down the line. Just switch the points. When the firemen switched the points, their adventure really began. Toby pushed past branches and bushes till they came to another little junction. There they saw two old signs. One read to the castle and the other to the mine.
We'll go to castle first.
Toby stopped by an old water tower. There's the castle.
Yes, replied the Fat Controller, and now we shall visit the mine.
Once upon a time, the mine had been worked by the little engines and their lines were still in place. But now everything was very rusty and overgrown. The Fat Controller was most impressed, but Toby was rather scared. He was glad when it was time to go home.
I think the castle and the mine will make a very fine place for visitors, but it will take a lot of hard work first.
Yes, sir, said Toby nervously. The Fat Controller's plans were soon put into action, but Toby was still worried. I'm sure this place is haunted, he said to himself. It's our turn to stay here on guard tonight, Toby. Oh, yes, why not? Stuttered Toby. Beware of the ghost, Toby, Thomas said. What ghost? Asked Toby. The old warrior ghost. Every night he lights his fire, then goes hunting. Toot toot, goodbye, Thomas replied. Night came. Toby looked anxiously around. Everything seemed rather spooky. Quite suddenly he heard a strange wheezing sound. It's the ghost, he wailed. What ghost? His driver asked. It's the old warrior. He's come to hunt me down. Don't be so daft. We'll go and investigate. They returned quite soon. The old warrior wants to meet you, laughed his fireman. Can't he wait till morning? Replied Toby. Ghosts don't work day shifts, said his driver. Toby bravely made his way. Well, bless my bell, he exclaimed. There in front of him was a little old engine. This is your ghost, Toby, said the signalman. His name's really Bertram, but we call him the Old Warrior because he's so brave. Bertram and Toby are now firm friends. They take the visitors to the splendid castle and the mine. If there are any ghosts here, they certainly help to make the place very happy.
One day, Edward was talking to Trevor when Douglas steamboat. He was pulling a train of heavy coal trucks. Come on, Edward. Stop gossiping in the sun when there's work to be done. Later, Edward spoke to Douglas. Trevor and I are old friends, and you and he have a lot in common too. Aye, where's Douglas? And what'd that be? Scrap, said Edward. Douglas gasped. Don't mention that one. It makes my wheels wobble. It does the same to Trevor, replied Edward. He was being sent to the scrapyard with the vicar and I saved him. And now he's really useful again. Even so, the fact
controller certainly does need another steam engine here. Aye, and quickly, sighed Douglas. That night, Douglas was still working. He had taken the midnight goods train to a station at a faraway part of the island where only the diesels were. He was just shunting, ready for his return journey, when... That sounds like a steam engine, he thought. The hiss, probably. Who's there? Asked Douglas. A whisper came. Are you in fact controller's engine? I am Brody. Thank goodness. I'm Oliver, and I'm with my brake van towed. We've run out of coal and have no more steam. But what are you doing? Escaping from what? Scrap. Douglas shivered. Then he remembered Edward's story about saving Trevor. I'll be glad to help you, he said. It'll have to look as if you're ready for scrap, and I'm taking you away. The drivers and firemen agree to help too. Everyone work fast. Late time to turn around, panted Douglas. I'll run tender first. Come on. But before they could clear the station, they were stopped. Aha! Exclaimed the foreman. A Great Western engine and a brake van too. You can't take these. They're all for us, said Douglas's driver. See for yourself. The foreman looked all over Oliver. Seems in order. Right, away, guard. That was a real thing, laughed Douglas. We've had worse, smiled Oliver. And they forged ahead. It was daylight when their journey ended. We're home. Shh, said his driver. There are the words. We'll find a place for Oliver. Oliver said goodbye and thank you, and Douglas puffed away. The next day, Douglas told the other engines all about Oliver. The Fat Controller will have to know, said James. Douglas should tell him at once, added Gordon. Well, here he is, said the voice. Now, what's this all about? Beg pardon, sir, but we do need another engine. Yes, sir, mentioned Gordon. A steam engine, sir. I'm afraid that unless one is saved from scrap, there's little hope. But, sir, burst out Douglas, one has. Yes, indeed. Thanks to you, Douglas, he is now at our wares. Oliver is just what we need for Dog's Branch Line. Everyone cheered. Now Oliver and Toby are mended and painted in full Great Western colours. Duck and Oliver are happy on their branch line. The others laughed at first and called it the Little Western. Duck and Oliver were delighted, and so the Little Western it will always be.
On starry nights when the moon is full and the air still, you can hear the sounds of faraway ships and distant laughter. They echo over the hills and through the valley, down calm canals and sleepy inlets. Every engine knows that these are the sounds that say the harbour is hard at work at the big station by the sea. One night, a special load of fish was ordered. The Fat Controller decided that extra vans must be added to the train that the men called the Flying Kipper. The only vans available were old ones. They had not been used for a long time. Henry waited impatiently by the quayside as Doug shunted them into position. Thomas puffed by with the mail train. Hello, Duck. Going fishing? I'd take care if I were you. Why? Puffed Duck. Well, for one thing, puffed Thomas, remembering his own experience, if fish get into an engine's boiler, they always cause trouble. And for another, fish can be awfully smelly. And I know what I'm talking about. Good night. Henry grunted dreadfully.
You'll just have to put up with it, Henry, said his driver. At least the extra load will mean you can have another engine help us up Gordon's Hill.
Meanwhile, Duck was waiting at Edward's station so that he could help the heavy train by pushing from behind. Henry made good progress. When they reached Edward's station, his driver stopped the train beyond the platform. Then special signal.
Beep, 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 beep. I need help, please. Beep, beep, replied Duck. I shan't be long.
Duck buffered gently up to Henry's train. He was not coupled up. Henry would then be able to run on without stopping when they reached the top of the hill.
Ready, whistled Duck.
And off they set.
We're doing it, replied Duck.
Henry was pulling his train harder than he realized. Duck felt the weight on his buffer slacken. Then Duck noticed something else. There's no sign of a tail lamp, he puffed. He whistled, but there was no reply. Meanwhile, Henry noticed something too. My train's getting heavier, he thought to himself. I'm slowing down. Then there was trouble. No one was hurt, but a strong smell of fish hung in the air. Next day, workmen found the broken tail lamp at the bottom of the hill. The fat controller spoke kindly to Duck.
The accident wasn't your fault. We should have checked that this tail lamp was fixed on properly. We'll soon have you in working order again.
Thank you, sir, said Duck sadly. Thomas told me to be careful about fish. They got me in a right pickle, didn't they?
One day, Thomas was at the quayside of a small village. The early morning catch of fish was being loaded into his trucks. The work took a long time. The fishermen were using old equipment, and Thomas was worried. I'm going to be late for Henry at the docks. He won't like this. Please hurry up. And Thomas was rudely interrupted. His driver and fireman laughed. Phew, sniffed Thomas. What a plum. He was glad when they were speeding along the beautiful coast. As they approached the lighthouse, they saw a man waving a red flag. What's the matter now? High tides are damaging the track, reported the man. I've marked the spot. We'll go and inspect, said the driver. It would be dangerous for heavy engines like Henry, agreed the driver, but for Thomas it's safe enough. The guard left a red oil lamp by the damaged track to warn engines. When we get to the docks, I'll tell them to close the line. Henry was waiting anxiously for Thomas's trucks. Why, you're late and that smell is making me ill. I can't help it, it's the fish, replied Thomas. And there's danger on the rails, that's why we're late. Thomas's driver and fireman were in the yardmaster's office when they heard Henry's whistle. There he was, steaming out of the station with his long, heavy train called a flying kipper. What route is Henry taking tonight? Asked the driver. The coastal run, it's the quickest. But I told you that's dangerous for a big engine like Henry. The yardmaster quickly found the signal. Henry roared past the signal post. I'll soon make up for lost time. The signalman was answering the telephone but couldn't hear the warning. By the time he did, Henry was far away in a cloud of steam. But when Henry reached the coastal track, his hopes for a fast run were dashed. Fog floated everywhere. I can't see, cried Henry. Nor could his driver. When he could, it was too late. As soon as the tide was high enough, Henry was craned out of the water. Engines don't swim, Henry. You were meant to deliver fish, not swim with them, said the fat controller. You should know that by now.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
When Henry arrived at the docks, Cranky the crane looked down at him disdainfully. My, Henry, I expect you'll have some fishy tales to tell, but take my advice, have a long hose down first. Hissed Henry, and then his voice to go. Look, said a child, they've caught all this fish and a green whale too. It's not a whale, it's a monster. Henry was most upset. Thomas now felt sorry for Henry. Come on, your driver said it's time for a nice hot washdown. Then you'll feel much better. And Henry did. I'm sorry I was rude to you, Thomas. Oh, that's all right. But can you smell something? What? Asked Henry nervously. Fresh air. Oh, yes, replied Henry.
It was a cold winter's morning on the island of Sodor. The wind was bitter and the ground hard with frost. Thomas and Percy were cold and cross. All I want is a warm boiler, huffed Thomas. Firelighter knows that. He's late. He's not late, replied Percy. This cold weather woke us up early. Gusts of wind swirled flakes of snow towards Thomas. Then they swooshed round Percy too. Why don't we talk about something else, shivered Percy. Yes, like how silly we look when our funnels turn into icicles. That's not funny. Maybe we'll stop feeling cold if we talk about warm things like sunshine and steam and firelighters, muttered Thomas. Scarves, continued Percy. Scarves? That's what you need, Percy. A woolly scarf round your funnel. Thomas was only teasing, but Percy thought happily about scarves until the firelighter came. The fat controller was enjoying hot porridge for breakfast. He was looking forward to taking important visitors on a tour of the railway and had pressed his special trousers. I shall put them in my trunk and change into them just before the photographs are taken, he said to his wife. Then he set off to catch his train. Percy was now working hard. His fire was burning nicely and he had plenty of steam. But he still thought about scarves. He saw them everywhere he went. My funnel's cold, he puffed. I want a scarf, I want a scarf. Rubbish, Percy, said Henry. Engines don't wear scarves. Engines with proper funnels do, replied Percy. You've only got a small one. Before Henry could answer, Percy puffed away. Henry snorted. He was looking forward to pulling the special train. It was time for the photographs. Everyone was excited. The fat controller was waiting on the platform for his trousers. They were in a trunk amongst a big load of baggage. The porters were taking the baggage trolley across the line. They were walking backwards to see that nothing fell off. Percy was still being cheeky. His driver always shut off steam just outside the station. Percy wanted to surprise the coaches by coming in as quietly as he could. But the porters didn't hear him either. Boxes and bags burst everywhere. Groaned Percy. Sticky streams of jam trickled down Percy's face. A top hat hung on his lamp iron. Worst of all, a pair of trousers coiled lovingly round his thumb. Everyone was very angry. The fat controller seized the top hat.
Mine, he said. Percy, look at this.
Yes, sir, I am, sir.
My best trousers, too.
Yes, sir, please, sir.
We must pay the passengers for their spoiled clothes, and my trousers are ruined. I hope this will teach you not to play tricks with the coaches.
Percy went off to the yard. He felt very silly. On the way, he met James.
Hello, Percy, so you found the scarf, eh? But legs go in trousers, not funnels.
And he puffed away to tell Henry the news. That evening, Thomas and Percy were resting in the shed. Percy's driver had taken away the trousers and given Percy a good rub down.
Firelighters promised to come early tomorrow,
said Thomas. Henry arrived. He'd enjoyed taking the visitors around, and now he felt sorry for Percy too.
Driver says the weather will be warmer tomorrow. You won't need a scarf, Percy.
Certainly not, replied Percy. Engines don't need scarves. Engines need warm boilers. Everyone knows that. Duke is the hero of all the engines. This is a story about him. It happened long ago when Peter Sam was called Stuart and surrounded folk. Many people came year after year to see the mountains and the lakes, and most of all, Duke. He always pulled his train, even on days when he didn't feel well. I mustn't disappoint my friends, he would say. Every morning he took his passengers up the line and stopped anywhere they wanted.
Beep, beep, he whistled. Please be ready when I come back for you, otherwise we might miss your boat to the mainland, and that would never do. One day, Duke didn't feel well. He was short of steam and glad of a rest. His driver and fireman had just finished clearing his tubes when Stuart bustled in. Hello, Grandpuff, he teased. Are you short of puff?
Nothing of the sort. This is routine maintenance.
Tell you what, went on Stuart, you're getting old. We must take care of you in case you break down.
Humph, whoosed Duke. That'll be the day.
Duke couldn't stay cross for long. It was a lovely evening.
Couldn't be better, couldn't be better.
He chatted happily. He began to climb.
I've plenty of steam, he puffed.
We'll be up in a couple of puffs. But soon, Duke's puffs changed to wheezes. His valves were leaking steam. It's not so easy, it's not so easy, he croaked. But I'll manage. At last they reached the station. Duke's driver examined them carefully. Anxious passengers waiting for news. Duke is going to take you to the harbour, but he might be late, said the dog. So 2 engines are coming to help. You'll still catch your boat. Falcon buffered up in front. Poor old Grandpuff, what a shame, you've broken down. Pip, pip, teased Stuart. This is the day. He was coming up behind. Are you ready?
whistled Falcon.
Yes, I am.
And away they went. When they reached the next station, the cavalcade split up. Falcon took Duke's passengers to the boat. Stuart headed Falcon's train with Duke coming behind.
Fancy me rescuing Grandpuff. This is the day, this is the day.
He boasted.
Poor old engine, poor old engine.
But Duke still had plenty of steam left in him. His valves sounded worse than they were. He and his driver had their own little joke ready. They waited until they reached the hill.
Now,
Said his driver.
Duke puffed and roared as though he was pushing the whole train's weight before him. The noise echoed everywhere.
When they reached the last station, everyone cheered. What happened? Asked the boy. They don't usually need two engines. Well, replied his father, Stuart broke down. Duke had to help him. Sounds as if he had a hard job, too. Duke and his driver's joke had worked.
Fiddlestick!
Exclaimed Stuart, and he vanished in a cloud of steam. Duke wheezed alongside. Poor old engine, he teased. It's no good, Stuart. You can't win.
Oliver and his brake van Toad liked working in the big yards, but one morning Toad noticed that Oliver was unhappy. He decided to find out why. Excuse me, Mr. Oliver, it seems to me that things are not well with you. If you forgive me for mentioning it. You're quite right, Toad, replied Oliver. All I do is shunt these trucks onto the turntable. I long for a nice run. It's what an engine really needs. Quite so, Mr. Oliver. May I suggest that you speak to the factor Joe about your problems? Oliver just grew unhappy. And he was rough with the trucks. You're no good, Oliver. You're dangerous. We want Percy. Percy's far too busy to be bothered with the likes of you. And he bumped the trucks hard. You silly engine, shouted the workman. It'll take a long time to repair this turntable, which will cause confusion and delay. That night, the Fat Controller came to see Oliver in his shed. Oliver, you have caused confusion. I thought you could control trucks. You shall work the mail train for a while. Maybe the night air will clear your smoke box. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, said Oliver sadly. Cheer up, old chap, said his driver. The mail train run is a grand run for a fine engine like you. Oliver smiled, but he still felt he'd let everyone down. His driver took them along the coastal run with the mail train. The sea was calm and the fresh air couldn't help but brighten Oliver's spirits. They made good speed until it was time to collect some important mail from Harold the helicopter. Come on, Harold. They waited and waited. At last, Harold landed. Sorry I'm late, Mavis. Had a bit of a problem with one of my arms. Kept letting me down when I was meant to be up. You know how it is, said Harold. We know that we'll be late for our first run, replied Oliver's driver. Soon they were on their way again. Ahead was a red signal light. Oliver didn't realize that the signalman had dozed off waiting for them. Oliver whistled several times, but the signal stayed red. There must be something wrong with that signal. We'll go slowly and stop by the signal box, said his driver. But they never reached it. The points before the signal box were switched to an old track. They were going the wrong way. Oliver's fireman was concerned. We need to find a water tower soon. Instead, they saw an old rundown station. Disaster lay ahead. Meanwhile, the Fat Controller
not returned. We had better send out a search party.
Soon he was high in the sky with Harold.
There they are.
It wasn't Oliver's fault, sighed the driver.
I'm aware of that. I'm just glad you're all safe.
Then he saw something. It was an empty old house beside the station. He went to inspect it. When he returned, he spoke to Oliver.
Oliver, you have found another attraction for our island. We'll make this house as good as new, and visitors can come and have tea and crumpets there.
Sighed Oliver happily. Getting lost can be interesting, but being found is much nicer, especially when it makes an engine feel really useful.
Every afternoon, Thomas the Tank Engine puffs along his branch line with Annie and Clarabel. First, they pass the water. Next, they come to a big farm. Then, they can see a bridge with a village nestled either side of it. This is a special place. Whenever children hear Thomas coming along, they stand on the bridge waving until he is out of sight. One day, Thomas was running late. He had stopped at the signal before the bridge to talk to some new children. Percy was waiting too. "Hurry up, Thomas," called Percy when the signal dropped. "If you're late, the Fat Controller may get a new engine to replace you." He would never do that, thought Thomas, but he was worried. Next day, Thomas hurried along the line. Just ahead was a goods yard. There, on the platform, was an inspector waving a red flag. Next, Thomas saw some children. They were waving too. Something must be wrong, thought Thomas. This station is for goods, not passengers. "Help, Thomas, help! We are glad to see you," called the children. "Please, will you take us home?" The station master explained to Thomas's driver that the school bus had broken down and that all the parents would be worried if the children were late. Thomas waited as the children walked down from the bridge. Then he took them to the next station, where Bertie was waiting to take them home. When Thomas finished his journey, he was very late. He was worried that the Fat Controller might be cross with him. "I warned Thomas," puffed Percy to James. "He's been late one time too many. He'll be in trouble now." But next morning, the Fat Controller was nowhere to be seen. "Thank goodness," sighed Thomas. Thomas knows every part of his branch line, but just ahead was a stretch where the hot sun had bent the rails on the track. "Careful, Thomas," called his driver, but it was too late. "That's done it," said his driver. "We shan't get any further today. But what about my passengers?" "Don't worry, they'll be looked after," replied his driver. While workmen repaired the line, Thomas had to shunt trucks in the yard. Bertie came to see him. "I understand you need my help again." "Yes, Bertie," replied Thomas sadly. "I can't run without my rails." Bertie set off to collect Thomas's passengers. "Hello, Bertie," they said. "We are glad you are here." Bertie drove along the road by the railway. He stopped at each station along the line. Sometimes he stopped between stations to let people off closer to their homes. Thomas felt miserable.
I've lost my passengers. They like Bertie better than me.
The Fat Controller arrived.
Your branch line is repaired. I'm going to change your timetable so that you and Bertie can work together more.
When Thomas reached the station, there were all his passengers.
Bertie is a very good boss, but we missed our train rides with you, they said.
Later, Thomas spoke to Bertie.
Thank you for looking after my passengers.
Oh, that's all right, Thomas. I like to make new friends, but I'm glad to share them with you. Bertie, said Thomas, you're a very good friend indeed.
Sir Handel had been naughty, so the Fat Controller made him stay in the shed for a while. Peter Sam was now busy than ever. He had to do Sir Handel's work as well as his own. He was very excited, and the fireman found him hard to handle. Anyone would think that he wanted to work, said Sir Handel, who was lonely and bored. All respectable engines do, replied Scarlowy. Keep calm, Peter Sam, and you'll do well. But Peter Sam was in such a state that he couldn't listen. He collected some coaches and went on his way. But somehow, the faster he wanted to go, the slower the journey became. When Peter Sam finally fussed into the station, Henry was already there. This won't do, youngster, said Henry. I can't be kept waiting. If you are late tonight, I'll go off and leave your passengers behind. Ah, said Peter Sam. Secretly, he was a little worried, but not for long. The guard blew his whistle and waved his green flag. Peter Sam puffed happily away, singing a little song. I'm Peter Sam, I'm running this line. I'm Peter Sam, I'm running this line. What fun all this, he thought, as he journeyed along the line. The coaches enjoyed themselves too. They were growing fond of Peter Sam. Every afternoon they had to wait an hour at the station by the lake. The station has a little shop selling refreshments. The driver, fireman and the guard buy tea and cakes from the refreshment lady. At last, the waiting was over. Peter Sam was sizzling with impatience. Beep! Hurry up, please! He whistled to the passengers. How awful it is if we miss Henry's train. The guard was ready with his flag and whistle. The refreshment lady was making her way to the train. Then it happened. The guard says that Peter Sam was too impatient. Peter Sam says he was sure he heard a whistle. Anyway, he started. Stop, 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 wailed the coaches. You've left the refreshment lady behind. Bother, groaned Peter Sam. We're sure to miss Henry now. The refreshment lady climbed aboard and they started again. Peter Sam didn't sing anything. Instead, he hurried along the line as fast as his wheels and his driver would let him. They arrived at the big station just in time. Hooray! Said Peter Sam. He felt very relieved. Not bad, youngster, said Henry loftily, but the refreshment lady was still cross. What do you mean by leaving me behind? I'm sorry, refreshment lady, replied Peter Sam, but Henry said he might leave without us. Then the refreshment lady laughed. You silly engine, Henry was teasing you. He wouldn't have gone without our passengers. He's a guaranteed connection. Well, said Peter Sam, where's that Henry? Henry had
called goodbye. Peter Sam felt much better after his long drink, but the trucks were bored. Let's break away, they giggled. The loads were heavy and the couplings old. Why snapped? Faster, faster, shouted the trucks. A sign read, slow, steep bends and ravine ahead, but the silly trucks never saw it. Then it was too late. Peter Sam arrived at the scene of the disaster. His driver sighed. This was our fault. We didn't secure them properly. We'll have to get help to pull them out. The flat controller will be very annoyed. And he was. You will shunt trucks in the yards till I can trust you again. Duncan was delighted with Peter Sam's dilemma. Fancy not securing your trucks on the hill. They'll come back to spook you and your special fun. Woo-hoo-hoo. And who's to say that you're not afraid of ghosts? Ghosts. Things that go bump in the night. Rubbish. Well, I'll tell you a story that will make you a funnel quiver, Rusty said. A long time ago, a little engine was returning home. It was a misty moonlit night. As the engine crossed the old iron bridge, he suddenly lost control and plunged over the side into the swamps below. He was never found again, but many a workman will tell you that when the moon is full they have seen the little engine trying to get home, but he never reaches the other side. So what do you think of that, Duncan? Nonsense. Puffed away. Never mind him, Peter Sam. He'd be frightened if he really saw a ghost. This gave Peter Sam's driver an idea. Let's play a trick on Duncan. The next day he spoke to Duncan's driver and fireman, who agreed. We'll do it tonight, they said. Duncan had to take coal trucks to the slate mines, and then bring slate trucks back. Duncan's driver decided as part of the plan to cross the old iron bridge. Horton Bridge, snorted Duncan, precious tamers and panoramic. All the same, he kept thinking about Rusty's story. When dusk fell, he was keen to leave. If we don't go now, Skyroy will take my favourite place in the sheds. We can't go back until we've collected all the trucks, his driver replied. He could see their plan was working because Duncan was nervous. When night fell, they set off. The moon was full, and the mists were rising around the old iron bridge. Duncan whistled, and the sound echoed everywhere. Then ahead, he saw flickering lights. Insects that shine brightly at night, but to Duncan, they looked like an engine. Next, his driver secretly threw a rock from the cab into the ravine below. It's the ghost! Take me back, please! When Duncan reached the safety of his shed, he closed his eyes tightly and spooked. Are you, Duncan? Laughed his driver. No! Wailed Duncan. I'm asleep! He refused to open his eyes. He did then, when he thought his driver wasn't looking, just to make sure that he was still there.
Every summer, the island of Sodor is very busy. Holidaymakers love to sightsee, and when the weather is fine, there is no better place to visit. Some people like to go to the mountains, others like the valleys. Children love the seaside. One morning, Thomas was puffing along the line that runs by the coast. His two coaches, Annie and Clarabelle, were packed with children going to the beach. Everyone was happy. Percy was taking some trucks to the harbour. Hello, Thomas. You look cheerful. I wish I could take children today instead of trucks. They're the vicar's Sunday school, explained Thomas. I'm busy this evening, but but the station master says I can ask you to take the children home. Of course I will, promised Percy. Later, Percy saw Harold. Sorry, Percy, can't talk. I'm on high alert. Why? Bad weather's due. My help's always needed. Mind how you go, Percy. Ah, off, Percy. As long as I've got rails to run on, I can go anywhere in any weather, anyhow. Goodbye. He set off for the beach. It was a beautiful day, but Edward was worried. Be careful, he warned. There's a storm coming. A promise is a promise, thought Percy, no matter what the weather. The children had a lovely day, but by tea time, dark clouds loomed ahead. Annie and Clarabelle were glad when Percy arrived. He was just in time. Rain streamed down Percy's boiler. Oh, he shivered and thought of his nice dry shed. Percy struggled on past coastal villages and into the countryside. The river was rising fast. I wish I could see, complained Percy, as he battled against the rain. More trouble lay ahead. Oh, hissed Percy, the water is slushing my fire. Percy's driver and fireman had to find some more firewood. I'll have some of your floorboards, please, said the fireman to the guard. I only swept the floor this morning, grumbled the guard, but he still helped. Soon, Percy's fire was burning well. He felt warm and comfortable again. Then, he saw Harold. Oh dear, thought Percy. Harold's come to laugh at me. Something thudded onto Percy's boiler. Ow! Exclaimed Percy. He needn't throw things. It's a parachute, laughed his driver. Harold's dropping hot drinks for us. Thank you, Harold, whistled Percy. Going to be at service, replied Harold, and he buzzed away. Water lapped Percy's wheels. Percy was losing steam again, but he plunged bravely on. I promised, he panted, I promised. He made one more big effort, and at last, exhausted but triumphant, he brought the train home. Well done, Percy, cheered Thomas. You kept your promise despite everything. The Fat Controller arrived in Harold. First he thanked the men, then Percy. Harold told me you were a wizard. He says he can beat you at some things, but not at being a submarine. I don't know what you two get up to sometimes, but I do know that you're a really useful engine. Oh, sir, whispered Percy happily. One evening, Thomas brought his last train to the junction. Percy was glad to see him. Are you on your way to the big station, Thomas? Yes, I am. Because I'm going there too. I think something's up. Toby looked at the sky. Where? Not up there, down here, laughed Thomas. How can something be up when it's down? Thomas was too excited to explain. Boss, my buffers, look over there. Mavis, Boca, Bill, Ben, Donald, Oliver and Douglas parading past. Good evening, you three, whistled Donald. Aren't we all a fine sight? Very splendid indeed, admired Toby. We're silly we can't stop the Fat Controller wants us all together at the station. What is this about? Asked Thomas. The Fat Controller has a plan, answered his driver. Come on. So they followed the other engines to the big station, end of the line. Oh,
called the Fat Controller.
I have an important letter to read from a little girl who is 5 years old.
Dear Thomas and all the engines, please can I meet you? My friends say they would like to meet you too. You could come to my house for tea, but my mummy says there aren't any railway tracks to my house. Can you come to the station instead? Thank you very much.
It seems, continued the Fat Controller, that there are many girls and boys who would like to meet you. Therefore, we are all going to the big city far away.
Hooray, hooray, the engines whistle.
Halt!
Called the Fat Controller.
Other engines will be working here while you are away, so please show them what to do.
As Annie and Clarabelle were going to the big city too, Thomas and Oliver practiced with some other coaches. Thomas grew more and more excited. Too excited for his own good. I'm glad I'm a splendid engine, he puffed. The Fat Controller thinks I'm really useful. I had a race with Percy once. I whooshed through the tunnel and stopped an inch from the buffers. Then, Thomas made his mistake.
Just like this, he boasted.
No one was hurt, but Thomas's front was badly bent. They telephoned to the Fat Controller.
I'll send up the workmen, he said. But if they can't mend Thomas in time, we'll have to go to the big city without him.
Poor Thomas. 8 o'clock next morning, the engines waited at the junction. Toby and Percy were each on a truck, and Duck had pushed them into place behind Edward. Gordon, James and Henry were waiting to lead them. They whistled impatiently. The Fat Controller looked at his watch.
I'll wait one more minute for Thomas, then we have to go.
Oh, thank goodness you're still here, panted Thomas. I hope we're not late, as it's just after 8. The guard blew his whistle and waved his flag. The engines cheered. Look our big city, here we come. And the cavalcade puffed away. Later in the big city, all the engines were lined up in a splendid shed. The children were delighted to meet their friends. I'm glad the little girl wrote to us, whispered Thomas to Percy. Isn't it wonderful what happiness a letter can bring?
Gordon was feeling grumpy. This was making James cross. Why are you complaining all the time? Because I'm a big blue engine and I know everything. I shall complain whenever I want. You're just a small red engine with ideas above your station. I can't see any, said Percy. Where are they? Any what? Ideas above the station. The sky is empty. Like your smoke box, Percy, laughed James. But Gordon was still grumpy. One day I'll show you just what a big engine can really do. So what can a big engine really do? Not speak to silly little green engines for a start, replied Gordon, and he puffed away. Later that day, the Fat Controller came to see him. Gordon, you'll be making one stop today with an empty express to test our new station. You can make up time afterwards. Why can't Henry do it? He likes idling in stations. You will do as you are told, came the blunt reply. So Gordon did. But he was still unhappy, and he grew sick too. I just can't get up to speed, he moaned. It's time for your visit to the works. Your pipes are clogged, said the fireman. Please!
Well done, said the Fat Controller. I knew you wanted a panoramic view, but this is not the way to achieve it.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Muttered Gordon. When Gordon was repaired again, he took the Fat Controller to the new station for its second official opening. This time he arrived safely, and everyone clapped and cheered as he pulled in. The Fat Controller spoke to him. Your panoramic view is here to stay. I trust you will always see through it from the safety of your own rails. Gordon heartily agreed.
Duck and Percy enjoy their work at the harbour, pulling and pushing trucks full of cargo to and from the quay. But one morning, the engines were exhausted. The harbour was busier than ever. The Fat Controller promised that another engine would be found to help them. "Oh, it's about time," said Percy. "I ache so much I can hardly get my wheels to move," agreed Duck. They waited for the engine to arrive. It came as a shock when it did. "Good morning," squirmed Diesel in his oily voice. The two engines had not worked with Diesel for a long time. "What are you doing here?" gasped Duck. "You worthy fat Sir Topham has sent me. I hope you are pleased to see me. I am to shut some dreadfully tiresome trucks." "Shut where?" said Percy suspiciously. "Where? Why, from here to there," purred Diesel, "and again from there to here. Easy, isn't it?" With that, Diesel, as if to make himself quite clear, bumped some trucks hard. "Oh!" screamed the trucks. "Grrr!" growled Diesel. Percy and Duck were horrified. They did not trust Diesel at all. They refused to work and would not leave their shed. The Fat Controller was enjoying his tea and ice bun when the telephone rang.
So there's trouble in the harbour yard. I'll be there right away.
Diesel was working loudly and alone. Cargo lay on the quay. Ships and passengers were delayed. Everyone was complaining about the Fat Controller's railway. Percy and Duck were sulking in their shed.
What's all this?
demanded the Fat Controller.
We're on strike, sir, said Percy. Yes, added Duck. Beg pardon, sir, but we won't work with Diesel, sir.
Then, in a quiet, hurt voice, he added, "You said you'd sent him packing, sir."
I have to give Diesel a second chance. I am trying to help you by bringing Diesel here. Now you must help me. He was the only engine available.
Percy and Duck went sadly back to work. Next morning, things were no better. Diesel's driver had not put his brakes on properly, and Diesel started to move. He went bump straight into Percy. Percy had an awful fright. "Wake up there, Percy," scowled Diesel. "You have work to do." He didn't even say he was sorry to Percy. Later, Diesel bumped the truck so hard that the loads went everywhere. "What will the Fat Controller say?" gasped Percy. "He won't like it," said Duck. "So who's going to tell him, I wonder?" said Diesel. "Two little goody-goody telltales like you, I suppose." Percy and Duck did not want to be telltales, so they said nothing. Diesel, thinking he could get away with his bad behaviour, was ruder than ever. Next day, he was shunting trucks full of China clay. He banged the trucks hard into the buffers, but the buffers weren't secure. The silly trucks were sunk. Soon, the Fat Controller heard the news. The trucks were hoisted safely from the sea, but the clay was lost. The Fat Controller spoke severely to Diesel.
Things were much better here before you arrived. I shall not be inviting you back. Now, Duck and Percy, I hope you won't mind having to handle the work by yourselves again.
Oh, no, sir. Yes, please, sir, replied the engines. Whistling cheerfully, they puffed back to work, while Diesel sunk slowly away. It was winter on the island of Soho. Peter sat off nervously along the line. His funnel had never been the same since his accident with some trucks. Now the biting wind was trying to blow it away. My funnel feels wobbly, he complained. I wish manager would hurry up with my new one. He says it will be something special.
You and your special funnel, laughed the other engines.
They were fond of Peter Sam, but his special funnel had become quite a joke. The winter winds grew worse. The rain came too, turning hillside streams into torrents which threatened to wash the line away. Rusty, the little diesel, worked hard carrying workmen up and down the line. They were removing branches and leaves so water could flow away. But one morning, Rusty's driver brought bad news. There's been a washout near the tunnel. The track bed has been swept away. We must repair the damage immediately. The important work took longer than expected. As days went by, the weather changed. It became frosty and much colder. The workmen finished at last. Peter Sam was most careful as he took the morning train over the mended piece of track. Soon, he approached the tunnel. It was short and curved, so his driver could not see right through it. Peter Sam was in for trouble. There's something hanging from the roof, shouted his driver. Peter Sam came out of the tunnel, a different-looking engine. He no longer had his funnel. Here's what hit you, Peter Sam, called the guard, and he produced a thick cold icicle. They set off again, but without his funnel, the journey was very difficult. Then his fireman saw an old drain pipe lying beside the track. We'll use that instead of your funnel. At least it'll help control the smoke. Peter Sam finished his journey with the drain pipe wired to his boiler. The other engines laughed and Sir Handel sang a song about it. Peter Sam said again and again, his new funnel will put us to shame. Went into the tunnel, lost his old funnel, now his famous new funnel's a drain. The teasing continued, until at last the day came when his new funnel arrived. The fat controller proudly presented it. Oh dear, exclaimed Peter Sam. Someone squashed it.
The fat controller laughed. Don't worry, Peter Sam. This funnel is something special indeed. You'll soon see.
Peter Sam's new funnel had special pipes which made puffing much easier. I feel stronger than ever before, he hoped. Even Sir Handel was impressed. I can't understand it. Peter Sam seems to just stroll along the line. He makes work look so easy.
The engines don't laugh at Peter Sam's funnel now. They wish they had one like it.
You look glum, little Percy. What's up? Asked Gordon.
The Fat Controller told driver that he's using Harold to show a special visitor the island instead of using any of us engines.
Despicable, said Gordon.
Disgusting, snorted Henry. Engines are meant to take special visitors around our island, not that whirly-bird thing,
James exclaimed.
Gordon was the first to see Harold. Harold thinks he can go faster than me. I'll show him. Next, it was Henry's turn.
The Fat Controller has chosen Harold because he thinks he's more important than me. Well, he's not.
Harold can't fly through tunnels. Percy stopped by a signal on his branch line near a field where sheep were grazing. Harold hovered for a while, then buzzed away. I know what he's doing, said Percy. He's counting sheep. And he puffed along his line, feeling much better. That evening, the engines talked about the situation.
Harold wants to get rid of us, said Gordon grimly.
He doesn't need tunnels, added Henry. Don't worry, he's just counting sheep, said Percy.
Counting sheep? Ah, snorted Gordon. He's counting how many engines he can get rid of. He'll see how useful I am tomorrow.
Thomas wanted to mention the children's playground, but solving the mystery of Harold and the special visitor came first. The next day, Gordon was travelling to collect his train.
We'll show that whirly-bird just how fast you can go, Gordon, said his driver.
Because they were watching Harold, they missed a signal and went onto the wrong line. Gordon was travelling to trouble. Ahead was a tunnel under repair. His driver reduced speed and braked hard. But it was too late. Later, Thomas pulled Gordon clear of the breakdown train. The Fat Controller spoke severely to Gordon's driver about the accident. Will Gordon be scrapped, sir? Asked Thomas sadly.
What makes you think that?
Said the Fat Controller. Thomas decided to pluck up courage. Because the engines think the special visitor is here to see if he can be replaced by Harold, he replied. The Fat Controller laughed.
Oh, well, the engines are wrong and you shouldn't listen to rumours, Thomas. This gentleman is making a new playground for the children. It was easier to find a suitable site from up in the air.
And what's more, said the special visitor, that tunnel sound will be perfect for the playground. Found by accident and good, you might say. The Fat Controller still uses Harold to fly above the island. All the engines know that Harold isn't spying on them. He is, in his way, just being very useful. Thomas the Tank Engine was feeling bright and cheerful. It was a splendid day. Good morning. He whistled to some cows, but the cows didn't reply. Never mind, said Thomas. They're busy with their breakfast. Next, he saw Bertie. Hello, Bertie. Care for a race today? And all Bertie could say was, ouch! That's another hole in the road. I'm sorry, Bertie, smiled Thomas. Thomas was still in good spirits when Bertie arrived at the next station. Bad luck, Bertie, said Thomas. Now, if you were a steam engine, you would run on a pair of reliable rails. Huh, replied Bertie. The railway was supposed to deliver tar to mend the road 2 weeks ago. You can't trust a thing that runs on rails. I run on rails. You can trust me, Bertie. I'll see if I can find out what's happened. Thomas left Bertie and made his way along the branch line towards the big station by the sea. James was snorting about in the yard. It's too bad. Percy goes to work at the harbour and I do his job here, there and everywhere. Take that! Ooh, the trucks. Just you wait, we'll show you. Gordon laughed.
I'll tell you what, James, if you pretended to be out everywhere, you couldn't shunt trucks here or go to the quarry there, could you?
What a good idea. ready, agreed James. Look, here comes Thomas. I'll start pretending now. Thomas was sorry to see the engines looking miserable. Cheer up, it's a beautiful day.
Yes, grumbled Gordon, but not for James.
What's the matter?
He's sick, replied Gordon.
Yes, he is. I mean, I am, stuttered James. I don't feel well at all. Don't worry, said Thomas kindly. I'll help out if you're ill.
Gordon and James sniggered quietly to each other.
Some of James's trucks were coupled behind Thomas, and he steamed away to the quarry. The trucks were still cross. We couldn't pay James back for bumping us, so we'll play tricks on Thomas instead. One engine is as good as another. But Thomas didn't hear them. He collected all the stone from the quarry and then set off back to the junction. Danger lay ahead. Now for our plan, giggled the trucks. Go faster, go faster. Slow down, called Thomas's driver, and applied the brakes. Poor Thomas stood dazed and surprised in a muddy pond as a toad eyed him suspiciously. Buzzed by, buffered, muttered Thomas. The day started so well, too. Duck pulled away the trucks, and Edward helped Thomas back to the junction. Suddenly, Thomas remembered about the missing tar. He told Edward all about it. That's strange, said Edward. A truck full of tar has been left at my station. That must be it. Driver will make sure it gets to Bertie now. Later, James spoke to Thomas. I'm sorry about your accident, he muttered. And so is Gordon. We didn't mean to get you into trouble.
No, indeed, sputtered Gordon. A mere misunderstanding, Thomas. All's well that ends well.
Just then, Bertie arrived. He looked much more cheerful. My road's being mended now.
Oh, I am glad, replied Thomas.
Thanks for all you did. Now I know I can trust an engine, especially if his name is Thomas.
Gordon and James
Puffed silently away to the shed. But Thomas still had company. Well, well, he sighed. What a day for surprises. The toad, who was looking forward to a ride home, noisily agreed.
Nancy is a guards daughter. One day she was working on Scarloey with some polish and a rag. Scarloey was snoozing happily, but Nancy wanted to talk. Wake up, lazy bones! Your brass is filthy. Aren't you ashamed?
No, yawned Scarloey. You're just an old fusspot. And Scarloey closed his eyes.
He was thinking about his friend Reneeas and all the good times they had shared together before Reneeas went away to be mended. Nancy interrupted again. Don't you want to look nice for when Reneeas comes home? Scarloey wasn't sleepy anymore. What? When? Soon, Daddy told me. I'm going now, she said. Nancy, stop. Do I really look nice? Please, polish me again. That was an old fusspot, laughed Nancy, and set to work once more. Duncan was jealous. Aren't you going to polish me too? Sorry, not today. I'm going now. I'm helping the refreshment lady this afternoon. We must get the ices ready for the passengers. Never mind, Duncan, she said. But Duncan did mind. It isn't fair, he complained. Peter Sam gets a special funnel, Samantha gets special wheels, passengers get ices, but I'm not even polished. Of course, this wasn't true, but Duncan enjoyed complaining. He became sulkier still. That afternoon was bad news from up the line.
One of Scarloey's coaches has come off the rails,
Called Duncan's driver.
We'll have to take the workmen there right away.
Less extra work, Duncan.
It wears an engine out.
Rubbish. Come on. The derailed coach was in the middle of Scarlow's train, so he had gone on to the top station with his foreign coaches. Duncan shunted the works train into the sidings and left the workmen to sort out the mess. Then he brought the passengers and the rear coaches home. He sulked all the way. I get no rest, I get no rest. Duncan made the journey very difficult. He was short of steam, so his driver waited a while in the hope of raising more. But Duncan wouldn't try. "We'll keep our passengers waiting," said his driver. Duncan, cross. You always think about the passengers and never about me. It wasn't long before Duncan built up enough steam to set off again. Still very grumpy and cross. "I'm overworked and I won't stand it." At last they reached the viaduct near the station. "Come on, Duncan," shouted the driver. "One more effort and you'll have a rest and a drink at the station." Then Duncan was very rude. "Keep him at the station. I'm staying here." And he did too. Scarlow had to haul Duncan and his train all the way to the platform. The passengers were furious. They told everyone what a bad railway it was. That night, the fat controller spoke to Duncan. "No passengers means no polish." "No polish means no passengers," Duncan muttered to himself. He still has a lot to learn, doesn't he?
The engines on the island of Sodor love holiday. Percy was taking some trucks to the docks. Terence the tractor was working in a field close to the line. "Hello, Percy. Nice day for it, isn't it?" Percy was confused. Nice day for what? Mrs. Kindly's daughter is getting married today." "Oh, yes, of course," said Percy. But when Percy saw Mrs. Kindly, she was standing by her gate waving a red flag. "What's the matter?" asked the driver. "I've forgotten about the good luck package for the bride." Percy was puzzled. What's a good luck package? "It must contain something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. Can you help, please?" Percy didn't know how, but his driver was determined. "We'll certainly try." Percy had to stop at Edward Station to take on water. "We've got to find a good luck package. Do you know what it is?" asked Percy. "Oh, yes, indeed. Something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue," Percy cut in. "But where do we find them?" Edward smiled. "They're probably staring you in your smoke box. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to fetch my special train. I'm taking guests to the wedding." When Percy arrived at the docks, he looked all around him. Suddenly he saw a truck. It was loaded with a new set of shiny buffers. Look, there's something new." "You're quite right, Percy," said his driver. "Those buffers are just the ticket. I'll speak to the foreman." He returned shortly. "Foreman said we can use them and borrow the truck as well. So that's two things we found. Something borrowed and something new. But what about the other things?" "I'm sure we'll find them too. Now we'd best be on our way." When the bride and groom left the church for the party, the Fat Controller addressed everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the good luck package? Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. All filed by Percy and his crew.
The engines whistled and everyone cheered. Thank you, Thomas. And thank you, Percy, said the bride. It's the best good luck package ever. And she kissed Percy. Thomas laughed as Percy blushed bright red. I love weddings, whispered Percy. Did you like your kiss? Replied Thomas. But Percy was embarrassed and pretended to be asleep.
One day, Percy arrived at the quarry to collect some stone for his trucks. Snow and frost lay everywhere. There was not a sound to be heard. Percy ventured further. He found Mavis, the new diesel engine, resting in the shelter of some rocks. "Cheer up, Mavis," he whistled. Mavis was still remembering the trouble she'd had with trucks. "Manager says I don't listen to advice. He says I've no business jauntering down Toby's line. Toby's a fusspot. Toby has forgotten more about trucks than you will ever know," replied Percy. "You must put the trucks where he wants them. Then you'll be a really useful engine. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to take these stones to the harbour." Mavis liked Percy, but she still wouldn't listen to his advice. Why shouldn't I go on Toby's line? The siding arrangements were awkward. To put the trucks where Toby wanted them, Mavis had to make several journeys. She started making a plan. If we used the teeniest bit of Toby's line, we would save all this bother. Her driver, suspecting nothing, allowed them to go as far as the first level crossing. A few days later, the weather changed. As the snow melted, the quarry grew busy again. Some trains were so long that Mavis had to go beyond the level crossing. Now for her plan. She would go further down the line without it seeming her fault. "Can you keep a secret?" she asked the trucks. Yes, they chattered. "Will you bump me at the level crossing and tell no one I asked you?" The trucks promised. But whilst Mavis was away, Toby arrived. He decided to shunt the trucks himself. The trucks decided to bump him anyway. They reached the level crossing and Toby's brakes came on. This was the signal for the trucks. On, they yelled. Toby was away with the trucks screaming and yelling behind him. No one realized that melted snow had turned the stream into a torrent and the bridge above it was about to collapse. The rails were now like a tightrope across the thundering water. Stop, cried Toby. His driver fought for control. They came nearer and nearer to the bridge. The driver braked hard. Toby stopped, still on the rails, but with his wheels treading the tightrope over the abyss. Mavis was horrified and quickly came to the rescue. Workmen anchored Toby with chains whilst she pulled the trucks away. Then she helped Toby to safety. "I'm sorry about the trucks," said Mavis. "I can't think how you managed to stop them in time." "Oh, well," said Toby, "my driver told me about circus people who walk tightropes, but I just didn't fancy doing it myself." Later, the Fat Controller arrived.
A very smart piece of work,
He said,
Mavis, you did well too, I hear.
It was my fault about those trucks, sir, she faltered. But if I could... Could what? Come down the line sometimes, sir. Toby says he'll show me what to do.
Certainly, replied the Fat Controller, if your manager agrees.
And so it was arranged. Now Mavis is as happy as can be, and the Fat Controller thinks she's really useful indeed. Duncan would not stop grumbling. He grumbled that he wasn't polished enough. He grumbled that he was overworked. Most of all, he grumbled about the passengers.
I'm ashamed of you, Duncan, said Scarlowy. Thank goodness Reneeas is coming home soon. Perhaps he'll teach you some sense before it's too late.
What has Reneeas to do with me?
Reneeas saved our railway, replied Scarlowy. Please tell us about it, said Peter Sam.
Well, began Scarlowy, it was before you came here. Things were bad. Reneeas and I had to keep the trains running, or our railway would have to close. How awful, murmured Peter Sam.
I tried hard, continued Scarlowy, but my old wheels ached. Reneeas understood. It's my turn now, he said. He was often short of steam, but he always struggled to a station and rested there. I mustn't stop between stations, he said. The passengers wouldn't like it.
He had stopped on a viaduct and hadn't cared at all.
Passengers, continued Scarlowy, get cross if you stop at the wrong places. Reneeas stopped in the wrong place once, and this is what happened. One wet and windy afternoon when the rails were damp, Reneeas was travelling home with a full train. There were even passengers in the guard's van. It wasn't a comfortable ride at all. Reneeas's wheels kept slipping, and it was a steep climb. At last, his wheels gripped the rails again. The worst is over. Now we're away. But they weren't. Ah! I've got cramp, he groaned. And Reneeas stopped on the loneliest part of the line. His driver examined him carefully. Your valve gear has jammed. We need to reach the next station. Do you think you can still get us there? I'll try, replied Reneeas. Reneeas did his best. If I fail, he thought to himself, the passengers will be cross and the railway will close. Everything blurred. He was really too tired to make another turn of his wheels. But he did. And another, and another, and another. Finally, tired but triumphant, Reneeas reached the station. I'm here at last, he reasoned. Thank you for getting us home, said the passengers. We'll tell all our friends what a fine railway this is. His driver was delighted. You're a gallant little engine, he said to Reneeas. When you're rested, we'll mend you so you'll be ready for tomorrow. And, smiled Scarlowy, Reneeas was always ready for tomorrow. Thank you for telling us about him, whispered Duncan. I was wrong. Passengers. The next day, Reneeas came home. All the engines were there to greet him. Edward pushed his truck to the siding where he was lifted onto his rails. This was the signal for a chorus of whistles from engines large and small. Everyone was happy, and Reneeas was the happiest of all. You know, he whispered to Scarlowy, this helps a little engine to feel that at last he really gone home.
Toad the brake van was feeling sad. Everyone One day he decided to talk to Oliver, the Great Western engine. I'm always going backwards, Mr. Oliver. I have forward-thinking views. I could be a leader, if you know what I mean.
You can't be a leader without a train to follow you. You don't have a train.
Gordon said. Toad felt sadly still. Oliver wanted to help. Very useful brake van, Toad. You help me brake, and you keep my trucks in order when we go down hills. I know, Mr. Oliver, but it would be so exciting to go forwards for a change instead of always seeing things sliding away from me. The trucks were cross with Toad. Who's he to start complaining?
He's lucky to be able to look after us. Let's teach him a lesson. The trucks decided to carry out their plan when they reached Gordon's Hill. When they were nearly at the top, they played their tricks. Ready, steady, go, said the trucks, and they jerked at a coupling which broke. We're making your wish come true, Toad. Follow the leader, yelled the trucks. Toad was still in a state of shock, so didn't know what to think, and he couldn't ask the guard. He had jumped clear. Faster! Faster! As fast as you want! Screamed the trucks. Suddenly Toad found it all rather fun, but the fun was soon over. A crossing lay ahead and the gates were closed. Toad couldn't stop. Worse still, Toad now realised he was on the wrong track. There ahead was Gordon. The signalman changed the points just in time. On! Faster! cried the trucks. Suddenly he saw James pulling a long, slow train. Yikes! Help! Save me! A quick-thinking shunter did, just in time. What was that? Exclaimed James. The signalman warned the station master at the next station. There's a runaway coming. We'll send them into the sidings. Help! Help! Called Toad again. Toad saw some buffers, throws and stopped. But the points to the buffers weren't set. Oh no! I'm back on the main line. Meanwhile, Oliver was racing to the rescue. I must catch Toad, I must. Toad sped past Henry. More danger lay ahead. Men were working on a bridge, but they had been warned about the runaway Toad and his trucks. They diverted him onto long sidings, straight into a muddy pool. Stopped at last. Oliver arrived, and when he saw Toad, he could only smile. A pond's the only place for a toad, I suppose. That night, Toad spoke to Oliver. I'm sorry, Mr. Oliver, if it caused you any embarrassment. That's all right, Toad. So what did you think of going forwards? It was fun, but from now on, I'll be happy to look forward to the future. Busy going backwards, so to speak.
Bill and Ben are the most mischievous engines working on the Fat Controller's railway. They are kept busy pushing and pulling trucks up and down the line that runs from the China Clay Works to the Harley. They like to have fun together and often play tricks on the workman. But sometimes their teasing ways can get them into trouble. One morning, the Fat Controller came to see them.
Important goods have arrived in the big yard, Bill and Ben. I need you to help the other engines.
Oh, yes, sir, of course, replied the twins. They set off happily on their important mission. Boko was resting in the yard when suddenly he heard a pair of familiar whistles. Sighed Boko. Here comes trouble. The Fat Controller told us you were tired, teased Bill. He asked us to take all your trucks for you. You two never stop, do you? Chuckled Boko. But I'm wise to your plans, and we do need your help here. The twins were soon busy pushing and pulling the heavy trucks into place. At last, the day's work was done. The twins now became excited. They were going to use the turntable for the first time. Bill went first. "This is fun!" he shrieked to Ben. He didn't want to move off at all. The foreman stopped the turntable. "Please make way for the other engines," he ordered. Bill did so, but unfortunately the foreman had accidentally stopped the turntable in the wrong place. Bill was on the wrong track, and there was Ben puffing directly toward him. The engines came to a grinding halt. They gazed grimly at each other. "I was here first," said Bill. "But you're in my way," protested Ben. "You'll have to back up again." "I won't." "You will." "I won't." The Fat Controller came to stop the noise.
If you don't behave, I shall not allow you here again.
The next day, Ben was still grumbling. "That Bill, imagine getting in my way on the turntable. He's a really silly engine." "The way I heard it," sighed Boko, "it sounded like you were both to blame." "Fuh! You must have heard it all wrong." The twins grumbled about each other all day. Even kind Edward lost patience. "All this grumbling spreads bad atmosphere in the yard." "You're quite right, and that's why I've come up with a plan." Boko whispered his plan to Edward. Then his driver told the Fat Controller.
I'll start making arrangements straight away.
The next morning, he called Bill and Ben into the yard.
Boko is taking a special train to the harbour. His regular heavy goods train is waiting on the siding. You can pull it together.
But, protested Bill and Ben, who were still not speaking to each other.
Good. I knew I could rely on you two.
"I'll take the train myself," offered Ben. "Go right ahead," said Bill. Ben was coupled up to the train of trucks, but they were too heavy for him to move alone. "Go on," teased Bill. "I can't," said Ben. Then suddenly both twins laughed. "I don't think we'll take turns this time, Ben," said Bill. "I think we'd better pull together." Ben was delighted. It was good to be helping each other. Best of all, it was good to be friends again.
Thomas the Tank Engine was feeling very happy. His blue coat shone in the sun, he was right on time, and all around his branch line the countryside seemed prettier than ever before. Beep, beep! Good morning, Percy, he whistled. My branch line is the pride of the line, wouldn't you agree? Yes, Thomas, of course, but look, Percy, back with it. Well, there is another engine on the famous branch line, too. Who? Where? Exclaimed Thomas anxiously. His name's Stepney. He's far away, but the Fat Controller says he may visit us. When? Oh, someday. And Percy hurried away. Meanwhile, Stepney was puffing purposefully along his line. It runs through fields and forests, but isn't very long, which made him feel a little sad. Later, he saw Rusty, the little diesel who saved Stepney from scrap. Everyone's been so kind, but my railway is so short, and I do miss a good long run. I think you should tell Driver too, replied Rusty. I'm sure he'll understand. soon discovered that indeed he did. Do you know, Stepney, I feel just the same way. That evening, Stepney's driver had exciting news. Guess what, Stepney? The Fat Controller has invited us to visit the other engines on his railway. Manager agreed. It'll be a really long run to get there.
Oh, thank you, sighed Stepney.
They set off next morning. By now, all the other engines were talking about Stepney. He runs a famous branch line. Did you know that? Said Percy. Thomas was feeling a little jealous. Huh, it may be famous, but my branch is first on the line. Everyone knows that, too. And he huffed away to fetch his coaches. Look! Squeaked Percy. Why have they all come? There is no train yet. But Percy was wrong. The signal dropped, and from far away an engine whistled. Here he comes! Yelled Douglas. Stepney puffed proudly through the junction. All the engines were pleased to see him. I hope you'll meet Thomas too, said Edward. You both have branch lines to be proud of. Then Stepney set off to help Duck shunt coaches in the yards, and they worked happily together all afternoon. At last, Thomas arrived. Sorry, can't talk. It's time for my last branch line train. Mustn't be late. He was hardly out of sight when the engines heard shouting at the station. Moments later came the alarm. Stop all trains! The signal man answered the telephone. A special, is it? I think. Thomas was impatient. Why are we waiting? My passengers are being delayed. Sorry, Thomas, said his driver. We're being shunted to allow another train to pass. Soon, they heard an unfamiliar puffing sound. There was Stepney with headlamps swaying and whistle blowing. He gathered speed and disappeared. Well, bust my boiler, said Thomas the Tank Engine. Next morning, Thomas was still fuming. Shunted, and on my own branch too. It's a disgrace. I'm sorry, said Stepney. I was a special. Why? An important passenger arrived just as you left. He ordered a special train and Duck let me take it. We had a splendid run, but, finished Thomas kindly, it can make an engine nervous not to know the line. Exactly, said Stepney. You're such an expert. This made Thomas feel much better. He couldn't be cross anymore and instead began telling Stepney all about his branch line.
On the island of Sodor, high up in the mountains, was a mysterious boulder. It had stood alone for a long time, but one day workmen arrived to build it. Rusty, the little diesel, met Thomas and Percy. Where's all this rock coming from? Percy asked. The new quarry, replied Rusty. This mountain rock is good for many things, although it's dangerous up there. Why? Asked Thomas. Because of a big boulder. I think it's out of the island alone, he said thoughtfully. They moved Boulder to a hill close by the yards. Rusty is sure that on a clear night it is gazing up at the mountain, and its sighs are being carried on the wind to where it once used to stand, proud and silent. I wonder if Rusty is right, don't you?
On a clear day when the sky is blue and there is just enough breeze to blow the clouds away, you can stand on the big hill above the valley and watch Duck and Oliver far below, busily at work on Duck's branch line near the sea. The two engines are very proud of their matching coats of gleaming colour. Oliver often talks about the time when Douglas saved him from scrap. If it wasn't for his help, Oliver will say, I might have been caught when I ran away from the scrapyard, and I would never have come to live here on the Fat Controller's railway. The other engines all wanted to know about Oliver's adventures. Amazing, remarked Henry.
Oliver, said James, has resource.
And sagacity, Jim. What does that mean? Whispered Percy. I think, replied Thomas, it's about being clever and wise. He is, finished Gordon, an example to us all. I'm sorry to say that Oliver became very puffed up in the smoke box. Henry says I'm amazing, he's right. He whistled as he swooshed along the line. One day, the Fat Controller came to see him.
You are doing well. Now, you must learn how to look after trucks.
Every wise engine knows that you cannot trust trucks. The other engines warned Oliver, but he took no notice. You think I can't manage? He said huffily. Gordon knows better. He says I'm sagacious. You may be good gracious, or whatever you call it, but trucks can be troublesome and... Say no more, Doc, interrupted Donald. It's maybe a pity, but the wee engine will have to learn for himself. Oliver pulled some loaded trucks to a siding and pushed the emptiest to the chute. Then he came back to take the loaded trucks away. They were comfortable and didn't want to move.
What right has he to poke his funnel in here? They grumbled. We want Duck, or Donald, or Douglas.
Look sharp, puffed Oliver. That's not the way to speak. Hiss, trucks. We'll pay him out. Oliver heard nothing. The trucks moved smoothly at first, then suddenly Oliver felt them push forward. His driver applied the brakes, but they were useless against the surging trucks. On, yelled the trucks. Oliver fought hard, but still they forced him on and on. At last the trucks grew tired. I'm winning, gasped Oliver. But it was too late. Oliver lay, bruised and bemused, bunkered down in the turntable well. Doug surveyed the damage. Hello, Oliver. Are you being a good, gracious engine? Beg pardon, of course, but we really don't like this sort of surprise. Donald and Douglas will miss their turntable until it is mended. That evening, Oliver was hauled gently to safety. I'm sorry, sir, he said to the Fat Controller. I should have listened to Duck's advice. I don't feel good gracious, whatever it is. I just feel silly.
Well, Oliver, replied the Fat Controller, now you know the damage trucks can do.
Yes, I do, sir, groaned Oliver. I look like a load of scrap iron.
Oh, I don't think so, laughed the Fat Controller. But you do need to go to the works to be mended.
The other engines now felt sorry for Oliver. The branch line won't be the same without you, whistled Doug. Come back soon. A few days later, Oliver did come back. His coat gleamed brighter than ever. He was a wiser engine, too, and never made a mistake about trucks again.
One morning, Percy was impatient. He was wearing a new coat of paint and longed for everyone to see it. The other engines were still dozing, not Percy.
Driver should be here by now. What's he doing?
Sleeping.
But that means I'll be late. The coaches will be waiting and the passengers will get cross. Rubbish!
What's Henry?
It's still early, Adam James.
You just want to show off.
No, I don't.
Never mind, Percy, said Thomas. It'll soon be time for work. But be careful or you might run into danger. And Duke is not here to save you.
Duke?
Stuttered Toby.
You mean our hero?
A large painting of Duke hung in the engine shed.
Very sane,
said Thomas.
Driver told me the story.
Listen. And this is the story Thomas told. Long ago, when Peter Sow still called Stewart and Sir Harold Falcon, they worked with Duke on his own railway, but Falcon still had a lot to learn. The manager came to see him. Falcon, I'm pleased with your work so far. Now you must learn a difficult part of the line. We call it the Mountain Road. Falcon was excited.
Yes, please, sir.
So tomorrow, continued the manager, when you have a new coat of paint, you will go on it. Duke will explain everything. Good. Lord Falcon, Duke's no fusspot. The next day came. Listen, Lord Duke, the mountain road is difficult. I'll lead. No, replied Falcon, I'll lead. How can I learn the route with you lumbering ahead and blocking the view? Suit yourself, said Duke. But never mind the view, look at the track. The engines set off. Look at the track, puffed Duke. Never mind the view. Fusspot, cried Falcon. Fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy, fuddy-duddy. The engine's speed grew slower and slower. Don't dawdle, urged Falcon. No hurry, puffed Duke. Soon they approached a tunnel. Falcon didn't like the tunnel. It was curved and he couldn't see.
I want to get out, he sighed.
One moment everything seemed safe, then suddenly... Falcon was derailed and hung dangerously over the edge. Duke bravely held on with all his strength.
Stop shaking, he called. I can't hold you if you shake.
Duke's driver and fireman worked quickly to make the two engines safe again. Then came more trouble.
Water! Cried Duke's fireman. Duke needs water, quickly!
Luckily, there was a workman's cottage nearby. Soon everyone was passing jugs, buckets, kettles and saucepans filled with water until Duke's thirst was quenched. All the while, Duke was building more strength. At last, with everyone's help, he was able to pull Falcon back onto the rails. Then, they started off once more. The manager was waiting at the top station. He apologized for the accident. Your Duke, said the passengers, is a hero. He stood firm like a bulldog and wouldn't let go. Falcon was grateful too. Thank you for saving me, Duke. I don't know why you bothered after I'd been so rude. Oh well, replied Duke. You just had a new coat of paint. It would have been a pity if you'd have rolled down the mountain and spoiled it. Thomas and Percy enjoy working in the docks. They like the sea air and the sound of the guns. But one day the friends were feeling comfortable. A crane was causing trouble. His name is Cranky, and this was his first day at the docks.
You're useless little bugs,
He called from above.
If you put these trucks on the inside lines, then I wouldn't have to your sheds and consider how you will improve yourselves tomorrow.
Now, Thomas and Percy were upset too. That evening, a big storm raged across the island. Cranky and the big engines were trapped at the docks. We're sure to be safe in this shed, said Duncan. But he was wrong. The engines had no idea that they were about to be put in great danger by an old tramp steamer. It was out of control and running aground straight into the sheds. Help! Called the engines from inside the shed. I can't, called Cranky pathetically. When the storm was over, the Fat Controller rushed to the scene of destruction.
Thomas and Percy will help you,
He called to Cranky.
and then you can help the engines.
Oh, please, hurry, cried Cranky.
And tell them I'm sorry I was rude to them.
Murmured the Fat Controller.
I owe those engines an apology.
Thomas and Percy soon came to the rescue.
And it wasn't too long before Cranky was upright again and clearing the wreckage. At last, all the engines were free. Oh, thank you, said Will. What would I have done without you? Well, I had to be rescued before I could help you. But I never thought it would be by a couple of but...
Cranky was about to say but quickly corrected himself.
Small engines, thank you. I'll never be rude again. However, you two mites are in my way, so move over.
Ah, said Percy.
He's back to bugging us. No, move. You're still attached to Cranky.
But it was too late. Cranky still looks down on the two little engines. But ever since that stormy night, he never calls them bugs or mites because he knows they may be back.
One morning, Bill and Ben were busy at the quarry, pushing and pulling trucks into their proper places. The twins are cheeky and love playing tricks, but they were growing restless. Listen, Bill, said Ben, can you hear something? What sort of something? Asked Ben. Something different? I can't hear anything different, said Bill. Exactly, huffed Ben. Everything is the same, sounds the same, looks the same. What we need is a surprise. Surprise what? Asked Ben. Before Ben could answer, the quarry master arrived. I have just received a message from the Fat Controller. He wants you to go to the station at the harbour. I wonder what we've done wrong this time, said Bill anxiously. It must be you. Why me? Exclaimed Bill. I've not done anything. The Fat Controller was waiting for me.
Edward's taking the children on a special trip today. I want you to go to the station and look after trucks there.
We'll do our best, sir, said the twins. Gordon spoke severely to me. You must behave here. You're on the main line now. Actually, Gordon, thinking then, when we saw you, we thought this was the scrapyard.
Gordon was cross. Just make sure that my coaches are ready for my evening train. And he fumed away.
This is easy, they said to each other. We know all about trucks. But I'm afraid they didn't. No need for that, shouted the trucks as the twins pushed them into place. We'll show you around. We want to help. Thank you very much, said Bill and Ben. The trucks giggled and began their tricks. Evening came. Their yard was in a dreadful muddle. The twins had let the trucks tell them where to put things. Gordon and the passengers waited impatiently outside the station while Bill and Ben tried to sort things out. But by the time Gordon was able to leave, it was very late indeed. Next day, the twins were working at the quarry again. That's a strange noise, gasped Bill. I've never heard a noise like that before. I have, whispered his driver nervously. It sounds like a rock slide to me. Then came the alarm. Danger! Clear the quarry! Shouted the quarry. Workmen scrambled into the trucks. Thank goodness we're here, said the twins. They were just puffing out of the quarry when, help! Wait for me! The workmen were left behind. Ben waited as the man cried quickly. The twins left the quarry just in time. Everyone was safe, but rubble lay all around. Oh dear, said Bill. This wasn't our fault. I hope the Fat Controller will understand. And indeed he did. The next day he arrived with Henry.
Bill and Ben, you still have a lot to learn about trucks, don't you? But you acted quickly and bravely in an emergency. So, 3 cheers for Bill and Ben, our heroes. Hip hip, hooray, hooray, hooray.
Oh, thank you, sir, said Bill. Being called heroes, well, it's a really nice surprise, laughed Ben.
Thomas the tank engine puffed happily along his branch line with Annie and Clara. The Fat Controller was waiting on the platform. He looked at his watch.
Well done, Thomas. You are right on time, really reliable.
Thank you, sir, whispered Thomas. Ooh, right on time, really reliable couple of coaches. But the big engines were not feeling cheerful at all. Where's Percy? Mumbled Henry. He's supposed to fetch our coaches. We get no rest, complained James. He edged angrily onto the turntable and spoke rudely to Henry. What's the matter, Henry? There's no rain today. Stop worrying and do some work instead. I'm not afraid of getting wet anymore, puffed Henry. Anyway, you look silly enough to be a clown. You should be in a circus. Oh, whispered Percy, so we've all
What news?
wanted Gordon. About the circus. Percy, what are you talking about? The circus has arrived, explained Percy. I've been shunting special trucks. The Fat Controller needs your help too. The engines soon forgot to be tired and cross. Until it was time for the circus to leave. Then Gordon and Henry were cross all over again when James got to pull the train away. A little later, the Fat Controller returned.
Come along, Henry. The tunnel has blocked down the line. You must take some workmen to investigate.
Pushing trucks, grumbled Henry. They stopped outside the tunnel. The workmen went inside. It was very dark and quiet, but not for long. Help! Shouted the workmen, and they ran out. We started to dig at the block, but it grunted and moved, one said. Rubbish, said the foreman. It's not rubbish, it's big and alive. We're not going in there again. Right, said the foreman. I'll ride in a truck and Henry shall push it out. Wheesh, said Henry unhappily. He had been shut in the tunnel for being afraid of the rain, but this was worse. Something big and alive was inside. Beep, beep. I don't want to go in. Neither do I, said his driver. But we must clear the line. Oh dear, puffed Henry. alive and very strong. It began to push the train backwards. Out of the tunnel came Henry. Then the truck, and last of all, a large cross elephant. Well, I never did, cried the foreman. The workmen gave him some cake. He drank 3 buckets of water and was just about to drink another when Henry let off steam. Oh! cried the elephant. Water went all over Henry. Poor Henry. The elephant and his keeper were soon reunited, but Henry was most upset. An elephant pushed me! An elephant pushed me! That night, he told the other engines all about it. Gordon and James felt sorry for Henry, but still teased him. First the rain, then an elephant. Whatever will you be afraid of next? Never mind, Henry, murmured Thomas. I think you were brave today, and really reliable too.
Bill and Ben, the tank engine twins, work in the clay mountain quarries near Brendam Docks. Their work is important, but it can be hot and dirty. Sometimes this makes the twins naughty. One morning they were indeed. That's my line of trucks, asked Ben. It's mine, snorted Ben. Yours is over there. It's mine, Snot, it's mine, Snot. Her friend Boko was worried. Stop quarrelling, you two, or the only thing you'll have left to share is trouble. Silly, snapped Bill. Silly yourself.
Bill and Ben, behave yourselves, or I shall send you to your sheds, said the fat controller. It is also clear to me that we need another diesel to help out. There is only one available. He's new and keen to make an impression.
If I were you, whispered Boko, I'd get back to work right away. Meanwhile, the fat controller was having doubts about his own decision. I hope the new diesel doesn't cause even more confusion. He's bound to have teething troubles. And he was right. Oh my! Grease roller! I wasn't expecting this here. Oh! What's that? His wheels spun and then there was trouble. Boko came to the rescue. Sorry, said the diesel. I'm all hot and bothered. Got teething troubles, you know. The news soon spread down the line. Apparently it's teething troubles, confided Thomas to Percy. Hey, you two. This new diesel's got toothache. Good luck. Why does Percy want to wish us good luck? Asked Bill. Because he knows we'll need it. A diesel with toothache must be the worst diesel of all. Then their manager spoke to them. You will take your load to the docks and rest there tonight. There's hard work to do tomorrow. It was dark when the twins reached the docks. They left the trucks by the quay and scurried off to the shed. You do look glum, sighed Bill. It's the new diesel's fault, replied Bill. He's got toothache. Toothache, he's got teething troubles. That means he's new, and this causes some problems. In his case, it's his cooling system. Next morning, as the twins were preparing to take a long train of trucks away, they heard an unfamiliar whistle. Oh no, it's the new diesel. And it was. Hello. I'll soon sort this train out. You take the front and I'll push from behind. What fun. All went well as they set off. Then they came to a hill. Come on, push harder, you silly diesel, shouted Ben. But the diesel couldn't push any harder. And then it happened. I'm overheating again. Oh, pa, snorted Bill. You know what? Sighed the driver.
and Ben. I've sent the new diesel back to the works. Can you manage alone?
Oh, yes, sir. Boko, whispered Bill. I'm sorry we were rude to you. And added Ben, the new diesel is really quite friendly. No, my friends do know. No, what, they asked. They always say goodnight to each other, and so they did, but they still chatted about teething troubles all night long.
It was a splendid morning on the island of Soda. James was feeling very pleased with himself. His red paint gleamed in the sunshine as he sped along the line. He reached the junction just as Percy puffed in with some trucks. James was surprised to see him.
What are you doing here, Percy? You should be at the next station by now. You're late.
I know, sighed Percy. These trucks have been troublesome all morning.
That's no excuse, Percy, snorted James. Nothing should stop us. The Fat Controller relies on us to be on time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be on my way. And James puffed importantly away.
Bossy puffers, was it Percy? James arrived at the harbour. It was market day. The harbour yard was filled with the sweet smell of fruit from faraway lands.
The fruit was delivered in big ships. James watched as strawberries, oranges, melons and bananas were carefully loaded into his trucks.
Then he set off for the station on the main line. On the way, he met Thomas.
Really reliable. That's me, answered James proudly. Pity the same can't be said for Percy. Peep, peep. Goodbye.
What was that about? Gasped Annie and Clarabelle. That was trouble. Trouble for James. Just wait and see. Percy was back in the yard and busy shunting. He had the trucks in good order and was making up for lost time. But the station master had bad news. What's happened? Asked Percy's driver. James's brakes have jammed. We need Percy's help right away. Percy quickly set off to the rescue. He found James stuck on the line and looking glum. Percy couldn't help laughing. Got yourself in a jam, eh, James? What you might call a sticky situation. Be quiet, said James. It's not funny having jammed brakes, and not very reliable either, teased Percy. I am surprised you let it happen, James. Nothing should stop us engines. That's enough, Percy, said his driver. Can you push these trucks? Of course I can, whistled Percy. There's no time to lose. James has done too much of that already. James angrily hissed steam as Percy was coupled to the trucks. Off we go, said Percy. I'll have to go fast to get there in time. These big engines are so unreliable. Be careful, Percy, called his driver, but Percy was in a hurry. He didn't see that the points had failed and that he had been diverted into a siding. Look out, Percy, shouted his driver and applied the brakes, but it was too late. The driver and the fireman had jumped clear, but squashed fruit squirted all over Percy. The Fat Controller arrived.
Percy, you are not to blame for the points failure, but I do not run a jam factory.
Yes, sir. No, sir. And Percy squelched sadly away. That night, the shed was silent. James and Percy felt very sorry for themselves. At last, Thomas spoke. You know, he said to no engine in particular, there's more than one way to get jammed. We all learned that today. Still there was silence. What's more, continued Thomas, we also learned that sometimes when engines help each other out of a jam, things could still go wrong. So, said a voice, so, finished Thomas, that means we learned a lot today, and therefore, then came a chorus, we're really useful engines after all.
Sir Handel is very proud of his big sturdy wheel.
good tyres and hold well to the rails, but they are unusual. One day, the other engines wouldn't stop teasing him. "Look at his steamroller wheels," they joked. "Be quiet," scolded Sir Handel. "You're jealous." Soothed Peter Sam, "the engines all tease me about my special funnel until they learned how useful it is." "Did you hear that?" Sir Handel. "My wheels are special like Peter Sam's funnel. I can go faster than any of you." Scarlowy had a plan to make Sir Handel see sense. "With your grand wheels, Sir Handel," said Scarlowy, "you're just the engine to tackle George." "Who's George?" "That steamroller over there," replied Scarlowy. "Listen." The steamroller was making rude remarks about the engines. "Railways are no good, turn them into roads. Pull them up, turn them into roads. Railways are no good, turn them into roads. Pull them up, turn them into roads." "Don't worry," said Sir Handel. "Leave him to me, I'll send it packing." George would soon get a run for his money. Later that morning, George was at the level crossing. "Oh," he said, "you're Sir Handel, I suppose." Sir Handel was standing no nonsense. "And you, I suppose, are George, yes. I've heard of you." "And I've heard of you. You swank around with your steamroller wheels pretending you're as good as me." "Actually," retorted Sir Handel, "I'm better. Goodbye." George, chuffing on, fuming. Later that day, Sir Handel brought a special load down after the last train had gone. When he reached the road, he saw George trundling home. Sir Handel tried to attract his attention. "Beep, beep, beep." George took no notice. There was barely room to pass. Sir Handel was cross. "Get out of my way, you great clumsy road hog!"
Huh, I don't move for imitation steamrollers.
They nodded along as the insults continued. Then there was trouble. "Whoa!" cried Sir Handel. "That was your fault."
No, it wasn't.
"It was yours." Everyone was arguing about who was to blame. "Hello," said a policeman ominously. "And what's going on here?" This made everyone stop arguing. They set to work clearing up the mess instead. Next day, the workmen put up a fence between the road and the railway. Then, they went away, taking George with them. Sir Handel thought he had made George go away. He talked of nothing but steamrollers. "Oh dear," whispered Scarlowy. "He's worse than ever. I'm sorry my plan was no good." "Never mind," said Rusty. "We'll think of something else." But they had no need to do that. Some boys arrived instead. They pointed to the engine and cried, "Look, here's Sir Handel. He tried to race a steamroller, but the steamroller nearly beat him." Sir Handel never mentioned steamrollers now.
One summer's day, Thomas and Percy were idling in the station when Bertie the bus arrived. "Have you noticed something?" said Bertie. "What sort of something?" asked Thomas. "The flight controller, he seems different," replied Bertie. "I did see him staring at the clouds this morning," said Percy. "I wonder why." The reason was simple. It was Lady Hat's birthday, and Sir Topham had a new outfit. "It's perfect for my birthday party," said he. "You'll look splendid, Topham dear."
shall be spick and span and right on time.
Later that day, the Fat Controller had changed into his new suit. You look fine, sir, said the station master. You'd best be going.
Indeed,
Agreed the Fat Controller.
the engines are busy. I'll take care.
Is it reliable? Asked the station master.
Certainly,
Said the Fat Controller.
but it wasn't.
As he sped along, he suddenly saw a large hole in the road. He braked hard, but it was too late.
Bother. Now I've got a puncture. If I change my wheel, I'm sure to dirty my suit, and that would never do.
Just then, he heard Caroline.
I have to attend my wife's birthday party, and I cannot be late. Please give me a lift.
I'll try, sir. But Caroline didn't like going fast.
I'm hot. My engine will overheat.
It did. Told you so, said Caroline sadly.
Bother, bother.
Then he heard a loud whistle. It was George the steamroller.
George was cross when he saw Caroline. Call yourself a car, you're a disgrace to the road. Find yourself a scrapyard.
Caroline spluttered in fury. George's driver was more polite. Can I be of assistance, sir?
Only if you can get me to my wife's birthday party, sighed the Fat Controller.
We can take you to Thomas, replied the driver. He's just down the line.
Much obliged.
And they rumbled away.
What about me?
Well, Caroline,
I'll send for help.
called the Fat Controller.
Stay there.
That's all I can do.
George was enjoying rolling along the lane, but not the Fat Controller. Oil splashed everywhere. Worse was to follow.
Help!
Cried George.
Something snapped.
He veered out of control. The Fat Controller landed in a muddy ditch close to where Thomas was taking on water. Bother, bother. Thomas had never seen the Fat Controller in such a mess. Can I help you, sir? Asked Thomas's driver.
Yes, please. Get me to the station as fast as you can.
I'm afraid our fireman's been taken out.
Then I'll be a fireman, sighed the Fat Controller.
Thomas was excited. The Fat Controller had to work hard. Dust and smoke flew everywhere. And at last they reached the station. The Fat Controller looked at the clock.
Just in time.
He gasped. He hurriedly picked up a huge bunch of flowers. Good luck, called Thomas. The Fat Controller's wife was waiting